do you agree with my opinion that I had in there that baseball is a significantly more entertaining product here with this pitch clock?
Yep, they trimmed the fat. Much better for not just for we people on deadlines, but better for the fans. Definitely would be better. I know some of the players are having trouble adjusting, but they'll get it down. And if they don't, they'll just get a violation, and that's the way it goes.
Man, you'll be back out there partying at night here, getting off 30, 40 minutes early, won't you, John?
Not exactly, but it'll be great for my deadlines.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that too.
There's not much partying.
No, I hear you. I'm right there with you at this stage. Hey, what was your reaction to this roster the Rangers built? And was this a good idea to throw all this money at a team that couldn't even win 80 games?
Well, I always applaud teams that are trying, and they clearly are trying. So I give them credit. The $500 million middle infield last year, and bringing in deGrom for under $85 million, basically built nearly a whole rotation in the winter, and they give themselves a chance. Obviously, they're in a tough division. Houston's the champion. Seattle made the playoffs. The Angels really improved. So not going to be easy, but it's good to see the Texas Rangers are putting in a major effort.
John, were you surprised that they were able to land Bruce Bochy as a manager?
Not really. I think it's a great choice, certainly a very calm influence, a three-time world champion. So
right.
He certainly knows how to get it done if they do get to the postseason. But, there are a lot of teams that would rather have a manager that will just do what the front office says. And, it's probably difficult if you're 67, I believe he is, years old. And, you've certainly got your own ways of doing things, and they've been very successful. Probably difficult to take any job or even to get jobs. So I'm not shocked he was still available. I'm not surprised he wanted to come back. And good for them. I think it's a great hire.
John, as someone who's covered the sport and does it as well as you do, when it comes to Boch, and we got to be out there at spring training and got to just listen to him talk about the game, but what sets him apart from those that you talk to compared to other skippers?
Well, 3 World Series, for one thing. We know he's going to the Hall of Fame. Just a very calm, smart guy. Really knows how to get it done with pitching. Certainly had great pitching in San Francisco. Makes it a little bit easier, but I've got to give him credit for one of the 2 most surprising World Series wins that I've seen since I've been covering it. The 69 Mets were a little bit before my time, but I'll put one of the top 3: the '88 Dodgers, the '90 Reds, and then the '10 Giants, where their best position player, arguably Cody Ross or Uribe. I mean, they did not have a star-studded team, and they pulled off the World Series. So clearly a Hall of Fame manager, and a good get by the Rangers, who are willing to hire a guy of his own mind.
We're all pretty impressed with CY Chris Young as the general manager. What seems to be the national perspective around him? It seems like he's one of the more respected dudes across the sport.
Yeah, well, he's a very smart guy and very well respected. Did a good job in the role of czar of punishment, or whatever you want to say. I thought he came down hard on pitchers who threw at hitters. I thought that was a very good thing to do. I never liked that idea, and I'm glad to see that he didn't either. He's just basically starting out in the job, so you never know who will be good at it and who won't be good at it. But he gets a head start for being a very smart guy. Princeton man, and I suspect he could have gotten in even without the baseball.
John, you mentioned with the other teams in the West, how do you handicap? Are the Astros clearly the class of the league, and have others gained ground on them as we get ready for this season?
Yeah, I mean, they were so good last year, and obviously lost Verlander, and they don't have a ton of minor league help on the way. They're the favorite in the league. I don't think there's any question about it. I'm not sure if anyone's really gained significant ground on them. I mean, certainly the Angels made some moves. The Rangers made moves. The Yankees got Rodon, which is big, although today we have some injury news on him, and he's not going to be with the team to start the season. So that was a real downer in Yankee camp. I mean, I guess they're looked at as probably the next choice after Houston, and they had a rough day with the Bader injury and certainly with Rodon and certainly with some relievers. Very, very rough day. One day in spring training doesn't tell everything, but you can't have a ton of injuries because nobody really has a ton of depth. So, I mean, the Astros are clearly the favorite in the league. I think that's fair to say. And I'm not sure anyone is really close right now. I might have said the Yankees, but today was a tough one with all their injuries.
What do the Rangers still need to add to get in that conversation for you? I do like what they've done with the rotation. I saw one national outlet ranked it as the 16th best. I think it's better than that. I'd still probably like to see maybe a little, maybe another outfielder, maybe another bat, and maybe a little more. I mean, they did really well with the rotation. Not knocking it at all, but every team needs more depth in the rotation, and I would like to see a certainty in the bullpen too. I mean, you can name 5 or 6 things for any team to get, but I mean, I do think that with all the changes they made, they have a definite chance to make the playoffs. How confident would you be that Jacob deGrom can stay healthy? It's Jon Heyman with us here talking baseball on the Fan.
He's the most talented pitcher in baseball, but I mean, based off of the last couple of years, you can't be that confident. I mean, he had MRIs, I don't know how many over the last 2 years, and missed a half season in 21, missed more than a half season in 22, but he is that kind of a talent that was able to get that contract at $37 million a year on 2 half seasons in a row. I suspect they're not expecting 200 innings from him, but if you can get 140 innings, and they're going to be great innings. So it's definitely something to watch. It gives you an ace, and if you get to playoffs with him healthy, as the Mets did last year, and he was the one starter who actually pitched well for the Mets. To get there healthy, and he's pitching, he'll give you a good chance in the playoffs. It's a big plus. He is the most talented pitcher in baseball.
John, we were talking about earlier about the pitch clock and stuff like that. Where are you as far as the banning of the shift now in baseball? Are you feeling like is this a good thing for the game, or is this, hey, this is something that they probably needed to rethink?
I'm in favor. Anything that gives you more offense, I like that. And the combination of more offense and quicker games, I think it's a plus. So I'm okay with it. I do see the argument against. I don't see the argument against the pitch clock, but I do understand the argument against, guys who really can place the ball. Like, there aren't that many of them, but Freddie Freeman and Jeff McNeil, there are a few guys who can really place the ball, and they really did a good job when there was extreme shifts that we're not able to solve them, and other guys were not as good at it. And I do see the argument that you want players to be able to adjust and play the game, but I think this is an adjustment that baseball needed to make. We have too many good hitters who are hitting 220 or 230, and I don't think that's good for the game.
How excited are you for the World Baseball Classic? And do you think Major League Baseball needs to do a better job of maybe trying to bring more attention to it?
I think they're trying. I wish that it had a little more attention, but they're certainly trying to bring the attention. That U.S. lineup is maybe the best lineup ever, beyond even an all-star team. You've got the batting champion, McNeil, batting ninth, and everybody else is a superstar in that lineup. So, and there's no guarantee they're going to win because, of course, the best pitchers in the U.S., whether it be a Fried or a Cease or a Verlander, deGrom, none of them are pitching. Wainwright, who's been a great pitcher over his career, but certainly not one of the top 20 pitchers in the U.S. now, is their ace, de facto ace at this point. But I think it's great that so many great players wanted to play this. There are 3 of the best pitchers pitching, not for Team U.S. though, in Ohtani, Alcantara, and Urias are pitching for other teams. And I think it's great that so many of the best players are playing. I mean, to have Betts and Trout and Arenado and Goldschmidt and Alonso on the U.S. team in that lineup, Real Muto, it's pretty special. I'm certainly going to tune in and watch those games. I watched Ohtani today against China. China was giving him a game for 2 or 3 innings, and eventually Japan, of course, broke it open. Japan is awfully tough. Japan, Dominican, Venezuela, there's some really good teams out there. Team USA is not a given.
Team Canada's pretty bad, aren't they, John? We were watching them play a spring training game the other night, and the pitcher accidentally threw behind a hitter.
Well, they're not the best, and they lost Nick Pivetta, who would have been their ace.
Brutal.
He was ill. He actually pitched today in Tampa. I watched that game. So they lost Pivetta, and I don't think they have a ton of pitchers. Quantrill is on their staff. He's a solid pitcher, and Tyler O'Neill will be playing for the team. But I'm not expecting. And Freddie Freeman is on the team.
Oh, that's
so
right.
They've got some good players, but I'm not expecting them, to be up there with USA or Dominican or, they're not terrible. There are worse teams.
John, I hope this is not an unfair question, but in your long career of covering baseball as well as you have, what commissioner you think has done the best for baseball?
Well, I'll say, Selig was in there for the longest period of time since I've been covering it. I think he was in for, I don't know, how many years, 25 years out of the 40 that I covered, and he certainly did the most. Obviously, realignment, expanded playoffs, WBC. He's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. I know there'll be people who say he should have done more about steroids, and that's true to a degree, but the union should have not been blocking him at every turn, and that was a mistake. And, I would say Selig did the most. Of course, Manfred has been in there for almost a decade at this point, but seems like baseball's going on the same path as when Selig was in there. He was an assistant to Bud, and I think it's growing very rapidly and making a lot of money. So that's kind of a telltale sign that things are good. The big question right now is the RSNs and what's going on with them. But the actual sport, I think, and I like the changes, is doing very, very well.
It's MLB Odyssey insider Jon Heyman with us here on 105.3 The Fan with the GBag Nation. You mentioned Shohei Ohtani. There's been a lot of rumblings about his future there in L.A. with the Angels. How do you see that playing out? And could the Rangers even get in on the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes? Have they been able to build up the farm system enough to make a trade package that would be enticing?
Yeah, I'm not sure he's getting traded. I thought they should have gotten traded last July, and of course now they're coming back with them, and they've enhanced their team, so maybe they get in the playoffs. I talked to Mike Trout when I was in Arizona. He said, we got to make it this year, not just to make it, but also to give him something to think about. So that, reading between the lines, that can kind of tell you that they need to give him something to even think about, and if they don't, he's surely gone from the Angels. And even if they do, I would say that it's pretty likely that he leaves the Angels. The Rangers were one of the 7 finalists 5 years ago. I don't know if his tastes have changed, but he didn't have any East Coast teams. He did have the Rangers and the Cubs plus 5 West Coast teams. So, if you believe that and you look at it and you think, well, he's West Coast is most likely, he wants to go to a winner, I would say that the Dodgers or Padres are probably among the more likely. The Mets, who knows what they'll be willing to offer. They can pay the most. We know that, even though they end up paying double, since the tax will be 110% the Steve Cohen tax by next year. So, I'm going to assume that's going to be tough to do to give a guy a $500 million contract and pay 110% tax on it. And that's even before, and there'll be a new CBA in the middle of that, and they'll make it worse on Cohen potentially. So, I think the Dodgers and Padres are probably the favorites as we look at it today. And during the Giants will be in there, the Mariners will be in there, and any team that can afford $500 million will be in there.
All right, John, you said you've been covering the sport for 40 years. When's the last time you went to the ballpark to enjoy a game as just a fan?
I went to a couple games with my daughter. She's a Mets fan in the last couple of years. So once in a while I will go, but not very often. I go to a lot of games. I see a lot of games.
What do you as a
probably how many a year? 100 and I don't know, 150 a year. It seems like it. I think so.
That's outstanding. Now, when you go as a fan, are you consuming more brewskis that day or hot dogs?
Well, I go with my daughter, and I'm usually driving, so hopefully I'll just have a number of hot dogs.
Okay, so the hot dog is the number one on the power ranking list for Jon Heyman when it comes to the ballpark foods?
Yeah, I would say. Yes, hot dog and ice cream. That's always a healthy combination.
Who offers the best press box food?
Wow, used to be Royals and the Jays when I was traveling beats on a regular basis in the American League. Press box food, it's not very good. I'm kind of a foodie, so I will say the concessions are better because that's what they charge. So
Yeah,
they give you better food. When you're getting food they charge, but just a little bit in the press box. When you don't expect much for $7, and you don't get much. It's I cannot tell you one. I think it's really outstanding at the moment.
Is the Dodger dog all that it's cracked up to be? You can be honest, John.
It's got good marketing. I'll say that.
there we go.
It's not the best.
Odyssey MLB insider Jon Heyman, thank you so much for your time and your insights, sir. Enjoy the season.
All right, you guys. Good talking. See you later.